Hey everybody, how's it going? So today I'd like to talk a little bit about an article regarding batteries that was written by a blogger at CNBC. I don't care if CNBC is considered a news organization. I'm not going to use the J word on somebody that does writing this sloppy. This is blogging. Now, I'd like to hear what your opinions are in the comments down below. So let's get into the article. Now, this article is talking about why Apple doesn't want users to replace their own batteries. So let's talk about why Apple doesn't want users to replace their own batteries, and let's see what the article is talking about here. So they're talking about two recent incidents involving Apple products showing a growing risk to the company's brand, the lithium-ion batteries that power its devices. It's talking about how the Federal Aviation Administration disclosed that some laptops have been banned from flights, and it's talking about a recall program that came out on the A1398 15-inch model from 2015 that you can see over here. This recall came out after a Reddit thread got 5,000 upvotes from an individual that shows their machine emitting a bunch of smoke over here. This is your typical lithium-ion battery gone bad in a really, really bad way, I suppose. This is what I would expect to happen if it was punctured or stabbed in some sort of way, or if it was asked to put out way more power than it is capable of putting out. This is what you see. Now, in this thread, I actually did defend Apple over here. I said I've never heard or seen of a case of this happening without someone opening the machine or stabbing the battery. No known issue, no known design flaw, no known defect. I imagine this is just a freak of nature event. I feel bad for the original poster, but I can't imagine Apple being at fault for this. This is one of the areas where I actually did give Apple credit because I see a lot of these machines. I speak to a lot of people in the industry. I've been traveling and I've met other repair shops while traveling, while lobbying for right to repair stuff. I've never seen this happen with this machine. I've just never heard of it. So it's not something where I can say it's a widespread design defect like all the other ones I talk about with Apple products. The point being here is that they're pointing to a recall program that was spurred by Apple as a result of this, and there's no evidence of a third-party battery being involved in this case. It says over here, Apple's affected recall was for 432,000 laptops sold in the U.S., and according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, Apple received 26 reports of the battery overheating, or roughly 6 out of every 100,000 laptops. Now, replacing batteries in consumer devices is not something that started with the A1398 from 2015. This is something that's been going on since these devices existed. But Apple issued a very specific recall. Apple issued a recall that affects this very narrow segment of devices. So what this tells me is that Apple thinks that there is something wrong with these batteries. Now, I still don't think it's a large number. I don't think it's particularly relevant in a statistical sense in order to start talking about some sort of fear-mongering and, you can't replace your own battery kind of thing. But it is a number of people that are affected. And if Apple's issuing a recall program, they're issuing a recall program because it is their part at fault. If Honda issues a recall on a set of cars that were sold with faulty tires, they're not going to issue that recall if third-party tires people are putting on the car are causing the problem. They're going to issue that type of recall because their tires that they put on the car had issues. This is the same thing that's happening here. Apple issued a recall because their machines sold with their batteries were having problems. Now, let's read on the rest of this article and take a look at what it is that the blogger chooses to focus on here. So it says over here, fake batteries cause problems. Fake replica batteries that look authentic are a growing problem not only for Apple, but for many electronics companies, said Nadim Malouf, CEO of two consonants in a row that is not pronounceable, which makes software that monitors the health and flow of power inside batteries for devices, including Android phones. In China, people are amazingly good when a new model is launched by Apple, or Samsung, or LG, taking the battery out, taking the dimensions, and making a replica, he continued. What's inside is, who knows, usually made by second and third and fourth tier manufacturers. People buy fake batteries online, or repair shops buy them from unauthorized sources. These batteries can have chemistry issues which make them swell up, eventually leading to a fire, Malouf said. All that feeds into a safety hazard, and that damages the reputation of the OEM, Malouf said. Hypothetically, in a public situation, Apple will take the hit for it even though the battery came from an unknown source. However, the citations that are utilized in this blog post that CNBC posted to their website includes instances of the company recalling a product because their battery, their first party, authentic, genuine, came from the Genius Bar battery, is the battery having a problem. So why are we reading paragraphs on how fake batteries are the problem when your own citation is talking about first-party batteries and first-party battery recalls? This makes no sense. Let's say that I wanted to say that people that grew up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, Staten Island, are dangerous and bad people. They're unwashed criminals. And I used a citation of people in Minnesota that were born in Minnesota committing crimes to bolster my case. That would make no sense, because I'm making a case for the reason that people that grew up in this neighborhood are dangerous. And the evidence that I decide to use is that people that grew up over there are dangerous, that didn't grow up. It doesn't make any sense. The same way that it doesn't make sense to write an article saying Apple doesn't want people to replace batteries because fake batteries are dangerous. And it's very obvious that fake batteries are dangerous because the real ones are blowing up. What happened with the Samsung Note 7 that everybody likes to bring up? Whether you're anti-Apple, pro-Apple, anti-Samsung, pro-Samsung. Was it third-party Samsung Note 7 batteries blowing up? Or was it first-party ones that were put into a phone that wasn't designed properly? This is not a problem. There's lots of problems when it comes to third-party batteries. The third-party batteries often have very poor controllers in them. The poor controllers mean that the battery is not going to last as long. It's going to tell you that it's at 30% or 10%, but then when you use an app that draws more current, the battery is just going to turn all the way off. Part of it is that the curves are set up improperly. So the battery is going to say, okay, when the cells are telling us this voltage, we are going to tell the computer this is the percentage we have left. And if it reports the wrong percentage for a specific voltage, then when there's a voltage sag, when you start running some sort of intense application or a game, when you have 10% left, it's just going to go straight to 0 because it actually didn't have the capacity for it. Or if you're charging multiple cells, it may not be able to have the type of comprehensive battery management system that's going to be able to tell, okay, there's 4 cells in here. This cell is charged a little bit more than the other one, so we're going to discharge this one a little bit more, and we're going to charge this one a little bit less every time so that the cells all kind of even out over time. You're going to get less cycles out of a bad battery management system because it's not going to be able to manage the cells the same, even if those cells have the same chemical composition. There's lots of issues to be had with the controllers. However, these are not issues of battery safety, or they don't last as long. The controllers are not as robust. Maybe the cells don't last as long because they're not the same capacity as the original. These are many of the issues that you have with third-party batteries, and these are the issues that repair shops hate dealing with when it comes to third-party batteries. We'd like to be able to access the original, but there's no evidence whatsoever, none over here published, that suggests that third-party batteries are less safe than the first-party batteries. Do they always last as long? No. Do the controllers in them suck? Sometimes yes. Do they explode at a rate different from first-party batteries? No. And you've provided no evidence of that. In fact, you actually link to recall programs of first-party batteries designed by the manufacturer while trying to fearmonger and talk about why people shouldn't be replacing their own batteries. This makes no sense whatsoever. The only thing that you've talked about is how the OEM is having problems creating their batteries. So why are you talking about fake third-party batteries? Where does this come into the discussion whatsoever? Why is it that I should not be able to replace a battery when the OEM is the one that's not able to put a good battery in the product? If anything, if you cite the OEM having an issue, if you cite the OEM's batteries blowing up, you've created an incentive for me to replace the battery inside my product. Because apparently, the battery that was sold to me in that product is a battery that may go on fire or explode. Maybe I should go in there and replace it with an aftermarket that doesn't explode. If we continue throughout this article, it says, even if a very small percentage of batteries end up having problems, that can still translate to a surprisingly large number. It only takes one video of a laptop smoking to go viral, as happened in last May. It's not talking about third-party batteries. It says, a fire has never spread on a flight due to a faulty battery, but batteries cause flight disruptions somewhat regularly, according to analysis from the FAA's Office of Security and Hazardous Materials Safety. There have been at least 265 airport incidents involving lithium batteries since 1991, according to the records, including 6 in the months of June and July. Okay, 265 incidents. 265 incidents over the course of 28 years. 28 years, 260-something incidents. I mean, really? And we're not even talking about instances of a plane going down, of somebody dying, of somebody getting injured. Just incidents. 265 incidents. And it says in the article over here, Apple's fiscal 2018, they sold 217 million phones. In 1 year, Apple sells 216 million phones. 217 million phones. You get the point. Same thing. 217 million phones sold. And in 28 years, we're looking at only 265 instances of an issue. And you're using this as the reason that we shouldn't be replacing our batteries? Without even giving any evidence that any of those batteries that had issues were batteries that were either A, replaced by the user, or B, third party. The number that you're giving is, when it comes to questions of limiting freedom of individuals, statistically irrelevant. I don't care. If you were able to sell 217 million iPhones in a year, yet you're saying in 28 years you had 265 instances of an issue, I don't think that that number is even remotely statistically relevant to have any sort of discussion as to why users shouldn't do something. And B, when you're talking about the fact that users this is why they don't want users to replace their own batteries, you're referring to cases that have nothing to do with users replacing their own batteries. There's no logic in this whatsoever. This is just pure, straight out crap blogging fear-mongering. And I think that it's junk. Now, if we were to read the rest of this, there's one point here that I think, it says that Apple recommends that users lean on its network of authorized repair shops to get any battery replacement work done. Apple said that in addition to its network of stores, there are 1,800 authorized dealers in the United States that have access to authentic Apple parts and batteries. Now, one comment that comes up regularly in my comment section as of recently for people who have not followed my videos for any period of time is, Lewis, why do you resist? Become authorized. You just got to take a test, right? Just become authorized and you'll get access to all this stuff so you can stop complaining about it. Well, why would somebody not want to get authorized? In the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call a bunch of Apple authorized service providers and I'm going to request basic repairs. And we're going to see what they're allowed to do, what they're not allowed to do, what they're equipped to do, what they're not equipped to do. Those of you that have watched my videos for any length of time understand that I take pride and enjoyment in being able to, dig in, look into my microscope, use all my parts in the bins here to actually make things work again, to solve problems, to fix puzzles, and to give people back devices above all that I can warranty, that I know will allow the reputation of my business to remain the 4.5 to 5 stars that it has been over the past 10.5 years that I've been in business. What do you think of the video that I'm putting up right after this one? Does it seem like if I were to become authorized that I would be able to use that authorization to have access to the parts, schematics, and diagrams that I need to be able to do my job? Do you think that I would be allowed to do the type of work I do now simply better? Or do you think that I would be completely hampered and turned into nothing but a mailing depot that's not allowed to actually fix anything? I'll let you decide from the video that I upload right after this one. But as always, let me know what you think of this article from this blogger in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinions. I'd love to hear your criticisms. I'd love to hear where you agree with me and where you disagree with me. I really think that battery safety is an important topic. I think it's important to use quality batteries. I think that safety is important, but at the same time that I believe that safety is important, that quality is important, that competence is important, I also think it's important to make sure that we don't lose sight of what the company is trying to do here, which is fear-mongering. They're trying to make it seem as if we should have less freedom because of a danger that does not actually statistically exist. And that is where I have a problem. And it seems to be that people are drawing these dividing lines, or on this side of the divide, you agree with Apple and you're for safety, and we're on the other side of the line, you're for using crap quality junk and don't care about safety. And I think that that is a complete misrepresentation of the position of the people who enjoy independent repair, and I am not a fan of it. By the way, last announcement, if you'd like to discuss any of this type of stuff in person, we have a Rossmann Group Meetup group. And this Meetup group here is free for anybody to attend. You just gotta buy something to eat at the place that we go to so that they don't kick me out. This here is on meetup.com. You search for the Rossmann Group Meetup group. I'll include a link down below. And this is a meetup that I'm having on East Houston Street and First Avenue, and I hope for it to be fun. This is on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to try and do something like this weekly. I'm going to try to carve out time for it. It's fairly difficult to do given the schedule that I have nowadays. I actually can't even do any of the videos and live streams that I used to do during working hours because the store has become so crowded, so compact, and so filled with people that just it's been a mess. But I hope to be able to make time for these types of meetups. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, I hope you learned something.